You're live. It's live.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
guys, welcome to this week's episode of Paranormal Lens. Apparently, we're having all kinds of fun already. Uh, the intro thing is not working the way we're supposed to. You can tell Chad Thomas is not here tonight. So I'm Jamie Widener. I'm going to try to be your host. And that's Kirstin Truccano over there. Kirstin, good evening. How are you? Um,
Hello, I'm
Welcome to
good.
episode 2 with us, right?
Yeah, I
Not as smooth as
decided
the
to
first one.
stay.
Holy crap. Oh, man. One of these days. One of these days.
One day.
I guess this means Chad's going to ask for a raise, right?
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
No, not at all. And it shows.
You sure?
And Steve Dills is commenting. He's even here. He's in the green room.
Yeah.
Look at that. He does everything. Yeah, the man never rests. So normally we'll say, "Hey, how was your week? What's going on? How are things?" So, Kirstin, hey, what's going on? How was your week? What's going on?
Well, my week's been pretty good. Just currently having to help deal with a sick infant, so that's fun.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. She's
and
getting better though.
good. That means if she's sick, that means everyone else is too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sick. Surprisingly, Alex is not sick. So.
Ooh, well, only a matter of time. Only a matter of time. Usually, that's a point in the situation where I'm in a place where I start rubbing it in that I'm not, and then I become the last one. So
Yeah, watch what happens.
yeah. Well,
how are you? How was your week?
not too bad. Not too bad at all. And, it's always something, and weekends are blurry and busy, so those are common problems. But this week is a weird one because Thanksgiving is on Thursday this week, so you're cramming 4 or 5 days worth of stuff into 4, and technically for me 3. I'm off work Friday. It took a day, so I'm trying to consolidate all that stuff together, so I don't have it to carry over onto Monday, which Mondays are Mondays. So trying to work it out, but no big deal. Like, life is good, can't complain.
Absolutely.
So I think, if nothing else, we should probably get Steve going because you have yet to experience Steve Dills, and I say that with all due respect and a lot of love.
Cannot wait.
But this kind of happens, so I'm going to let him have as much time as we can. I think the FAA will probably cut us off at some point.
Perfect.
But we'll get him there. So without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Dills. Steve!
We did it!
We did it! We did something.
Did you see?
I don't know.
Chad is backstage.
There it is. We got to press that button. So we got that going for us.
I saw Chad backstage. He was hanging out with me.
I did. I don't know how to get him there. So apparently,
I don't know. I don't know how he got there, but he's there.
He's somewhere. He's somewhere on the property. I don't know.
He's hiding
in the background.
He's doing Chad things.
He is doing
locked
Chad
him outside. just throw like little bits of food out the window every so often, so he's got something to eat.
Sounds about right.
Hey, look, he's at Disney this week, so I saw a picture of his dinner table with all the food on it earlier. So he's not hungry. If he is, he's not doing it right. That's for sure.
God, I love Disney. I love going to Disney.
I want to go back.
One of the times this is your third time, by the way, and thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah.
Didn't scare you off yet. That's amazing.
Likewise.
Well, yeah, no worries there. So the first time you were with us, I was at Disney actually, and I was on assignment, with finger quotes.
This is like a trend with me. When do I get to go and be at Disney?
Yeah, I'm on assignment.
Hey, I'm happy to cover for you whenever you're ready to go. So I got you. We owe you one or two actually at this point. So it's one of those go when you want to, trip not included. So
yep,
always there. We build this as an evening with Steve Dills, and we've been saying for a couple weeks now, show up with your popcorn, your drink, go to the bathroom first, because there's history. So I just want to be clear that I have brought my own popcorn.
Oh my God.
Beverage as well. So
I dig it.
I dare not drink the beverage because this could go 2 hours.
I got my tea.
I think we might have the same beverage, Steve. I'm not
We'll
sure.
just take bio breaks. We'll just call it in a little bit. Everybody will take a bathroom break.
Time out. I'll
Yeah,
be back.
yeah.
It's
We'll
a
put on
traffic
the
jam. I
ads or
disappear for a few
something.
minutes.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be
Well,
fine.
Bert's with us, and he says hello. I got our popcorn and peanuts. Went to the bathroom. We are ready. So at least they
How's it
follow
going, Bert?
direction.
Yeah, this isn't like a movie. Like, that's one thing I hate about going to like a movie theater is like I inevitably. So first off, the very first mistake I make is I always get the large bucket of popcorn
Yeah.
because there's no other way. Like, I swear to God, I don't understand the people that are like, I'll take the medium. Like, why?
No.
Because then you can't get the refill on the way home. Like, I don't know. I'm extra weird. I'm a-okay with like popcorn sitting down for a little bit. So like, give me the refill.
Exactly.
Do you have a top? I know I'm weird. I get it, but listen, I also investigate ghosts, so it's fine. We're here. Um, so- but then like I also, what do you do? What do you do with the large bucket of popcorn? What else do you get? The large drink, right? And
Yeah.
and I have like a bladder of like a 12-year-old, so I am yeah. It's not a movie. We'll take breaks. It'll be fine. Everybody will be
All
fine.
right. Well, thanks. Maybe necessary. Well, like everybody's commenting, he's everybody saw chat, and he did acknowledge he left, so he's not he's probably doing better things than us. But if I were in Disney, I would be. Well, I don't know if he's in the park. They drove down last night, overnight into today, so maybe he's crashing out because I would.
I have done that. I've done that exact trip,
Yep.
except he came from a little bit further than me. But because I'm in Richmond, Virginia, so
Right.
it's God, it was like a 13 some hour. Like, it was nuts, but we did it in one night. Hey, Larissa, how are you guys? But that's a drive, and then we crashed almost the entire next day.
14 or 16, I forget. Well, it's probably 16. If it was 14, it's probably 16 because I know they stopped at a Buc-ee's somewhere in South
Yeah.
Carolina.
Oh
So
God,
Well, you have
Buc-ee's.
to.
it's what you do.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's an obligation.
I
So
mean, my dad loves it so much. He got my daughter a little Buc-ee's onesie. So there's that.
aw,
I dig it. I dig it.
there is that.
I dig
That's
it.
so cute. Ah, Well,
Still
yeah,
vertical, Larissa. Still vertical here.
yeah. I think we all
Yeah.
are barely right. I had a revelation today, Steve, and time is the thing, and I realized today is November 25th. That means I have exactly 24 or whatever 30 shopping days, some odd weird number of shopping days till Christmas that I
Oh
probably won't
God.
start thinking about for another 20 days.
I know.
So that moment struck me this afternoon, and I was like, oh crap. So not that there's not enough stress and other things going on,
It's
with
scary.
life in general, but now the holidays are really upon us. It's
It,
real again. So,
they are. There's a Christmas tree in our house already,
ooh,
and like usually I am the no Christmas until after Thanksgiving. But kids wanted to do it early, so it Christmas has vomited all over our house. Um,
wow.
Not outside yet. Contained.
Okay.
That is contained until after Thanksgiving.
Well, you have the moderate weather where you can get away with it for a little while. When up here, we're in South Central Pennsylvania, so
Yeah.
it's not that far,
Cold.
but it's far enough. It's already cold. We've had frost already, that kind of stuff. So people tend to try to get their outside stuff done sooner because if they wait, it might snow. Like,
I mean, last
Yeah,
week there was snow.
yeah, I don't miss that. I grew up in Philly, like right outside of Philly, and
yep,
I'm okay with like little bits of snow.
right.
I know it
It
just
melts
feels
before noon.
it's wild, Larissa, that we're already here amongst the dwindling months of 2025.
Yeah, we're down to days at this point.
It's
Holy cow!
weird.
Well, and well, every year it always feels like it starts off slowly, and then by the time we get around to like the end of summer, all of a sudden it just ends and it's done.
Yep,
So,
then it's over. It's
but
all
then,
over.
I don't know about you guys, with respects to the paranormal, but there's kind of like a season. It's definitely late winter, early spring at best to start, and then depending where you want to go. And I'm there's different climate, perhaps in the South, but up here, most places or older facilities don't have heat.
Yep.
So there's kind of like the end of October, early November window for places to shut down for the season. And then, it's kind of a dry patch for a while. And it's okay, I guess, because then again, the holidays start kicking in and you got other stuff going on and you're busy in a different direction. But maybe that's the time to sit down and actually start doing evidence review. Maybe. Um,
You speak of time like there is some.
well, I speak
Uh,
like I wish I had it. I guess maybe I'm trying to figure out how to get more of it or use it better. Maybe that's the best way to say it.
I
But
mean, we used to have a kind of a lull in transcend. So we would, we'd run hard, and um, we'd have October, and you know, I know, um, but October was always like a 2.5 month affair.
okay,
Because for us, it would begin probably early mid September, in terms of like all of the Halloween events, and they would continue on until about mid November.
yeah,
Um, and in betwixt there, uh, there's one particular week that we refer to as Hell Week. And Hell Week is the week that we do tours, where we dress up in character, full character. We do tours Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We have a break Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday, and then yeah, Thursday, Friday are tours at another location, and then Saturday is an investigation.
right.
Um, and usually we have an investigation the Saturday before it. So there's like a full 7 days where we're just about all like all events. It doesn't matter. Like we work, all of us have full time jobs. So it's like 5 o'clock rolls around, you head out to this late, wherever we're doing our thing, and it just runs. And by the end of that, everybody is just like in a vegetative state, and it takes a lot out of you. And so we typically try to have a little bit of a break, and then we started introducing this thing in December, um, where we wanted to kind of have this like nod to the end of the year, and so we actually host. We have only one event that we do in December, and it's at the Dunlore Inn, and we're gearing up to host it this coming December, and it's really cool because it's not quite an investigation, it's not quite a tour, it's not quite just hanging out and and chatting with people. It's kind of this like cool mix, and we're trying to like I don't know try something a little bit different. And so this year we're doing a gallery reading from Ashley and Misty Connor, the Connor sisters, and that kicks off the evening. And then afterwards, we're gonna do like this little, half the group is gonna take like kind of a tour, slash investigation slash history, slash personal storytelling, of the inn, while the other group does like tarot card reading and some ghost stories about the location as well. And we're gonna pair it with wine and food, and good music. And so we're trying to like create this experience as opposed to like and I know you guys know it, kind of like the cut dry investigation. It's like, all right, we're here, you're going to investigate there for an hour, then there for an hour, then there for an hour, then there for an hour, and then we're out. See you later, have a good evening, everybody. um so we're trying to create something that's just more like fluid and allows for storytelling alongside of history and the paranormal, and something that's just like a little bit more cozy. So we're doing that at the Dunlore Inn, and then we're done until January, and then we've got the Paracon. So then life just gets crazy again.
It starts all over, like lather, rinse, repeat.
It's
Well,
never ending cycle.
I can tell you this: my first public event was a similar experience as you're creating in December, except it went terribly wrong. Well, maybe not
Oh,
terribly wrong. It's the right way to say it, but it was quite weird. So in York, PA, which is the next county over from us and the next county seat over, so maybe half an hour from where I sit, is there's a group there that has was doing public, and it was in an old speakeasy. And it was basically
hmm
the basement of a building that literally had a walkout door. So it was very strange to think that, but it was a private building that is a retail store above now in the heart of downtown, and then the space down below. And there was believed to be activity around the speakeasy. There was believed to be someone who had passed who was a transient or some kind of person who lived in the building regularly but not quite allowed to be, who passed away. So there was belief of activity. Nothing really happened there, unfortunately, but we had some odd things. And then we went to an old medical morgue, which was underneath a current apartment building. And every time somebody came and went from the
It's where I'd
building,
want to live.
the doors are like banging and stomping, and very distracting. Some interesting SLS hits there, but what makes it really weird is the last building or the last place was like all the way outside of downtown, and it was an old house that was currently a realtor's office. So what you and a property manager as well. So what we found is we got ourselves into this place, but it's somebody's office, and there was like a lockbox of keys for all these properties that are clearly labeled what they are that is hanging open.
Oh,
And like we're there, and it's basically what we are as Jott-Nyx now, so it's Jerry, Melissa, and I, and a few others, um, and we're like, what the heck is this,
yeah.
and not much happened in there either, unfortunately. And it's not on demand, so it's not like, hey, somebody's here, we got to get on,
Yeah.
go get your things, get your chains
Get
and
get
all the
stuff.
stuff. The ghosts aren't like that. There's no union here. So, not that we know of, but it was like the most weirdest thing. But it was enough, it was like the hook moment of saying, cool, let's do this. And
Yeah.
it kind of it led me into the team, which was cool. And then it led us into an opportunity to host our own events. And then we knew what not to do.
Yep.
So we'll just turn people loose in places that really have no relevance. Like
Yep.
there's a story. You're right. There's a warmth in this process. And I came from the nonprofit world a long time ago, and in resource development fundraising.
Hmm.
Um, and my old boss told me an analogy, or well, I guess not really an analogy, but he told me a thing that has never left me, and that is that when you're making a presentation, facts tell and stories sell.
Hmm. Yes.
So, there's two brains basically. There's the analytical folks, and then there's the heartstrings folks. And
Yep.
trying to weave a story together that carries both halves, if you can complete it, well, then you're going to capture everybody. And in the
Yeah.
worst case, you get half of it. If you're too analytical, you're not going to get the story part. If you're too story, then the numbers folks aren't going to be as interested. So,
Yes.
no, but
And
that
that's exactly. I mean, that's it. And that's I've enjoyed both, right? I enjoy going on ghost tours and fully understanding and realizing that probably 70% of it is made up, right? Or whatever. But and I'm not calling out ghost touring companies. I'm very good friends with a couple here in Richmond, and they are very tried and true to the material. However, I have definitely gone on ghost tours in other cities where it's like I'm like that. No, that definitely didn't happen. Like I know that didn't happen. I'm
right.
well aware that didn't happen. But it is good storytelling. And so I think the fun part about it, and what's really, I guess, interesting to me is when you put together an evening like this where it's not quite one thing or another. um it kind of has the opportunity to um you know I guess fit into whatever somebody's looking to get out of it. How's it going, Ronnie? I miss you, man. um and so that's where I like the ability, because we know a lot of the history about Dunlora. We've had a lot of experiences there. We know it's active. Um, but it's really neat because on top of that, we also have stories of the folks that lived there, the families that had lived there prior. The owner, Sheena, she has actually met some of the sisters of the woman that had lived there prior. They had also lived there, and after Sheena completed and finished renovating, um, she allowed them to come in and tour it and check it out. And she got to, kind of share their history back with them because it had been so long since they had been, had returned. Um, so it's really neat because that gives us another opportunity, another window into what was the history here, and then we can share it in a different different setting, a different group of people, and say, hey, these are some of the stories that make this building what it is. um, Now let's use that, and let's see if we can communicate with anybody. And so we'll do these tours where we're going to do just that. We're going to talk about what happened here. Why is this place important? You know, it was a coal mining town. It was a brothel for a period of time. And it was also a speakeasy. So it's kind of funny when you were listing out, you know, this location. I was like, oh yeah. Um, and so it's just really interesting because, you know, brothel, everyone's like, oh wow, yeah, it's great. You know, what a crazy location. But you know, if you actually look at the crux of it, people that are going there for the, you know, that sort of thing are looking for what? Connection,
Yep.
right? They're looking for connection. They're looking for communication to be heard, right? These are people that are working in coal mines, you know, probably 3 seconds from death every day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and this is their safe place. So it's really a unique location to, you know, kind of share this, you know, this different idea of an investigation. We've done gallery readings there before. We've done investigations there before. But this is kind of the first time that we're just going to say, you know what, let's put the two together, and let's see what we get, and let's, you know, let's have, you know, let everybody have a good time, and we'll do something that's not so formal of the, you know, this format, but they can really explore Dunlora for what it is, um, and then, you know, hopefully have a good evening out of it. So trying something a little different, but it's exciting. I'm excited
Well,
to
I
see
have
how
a
it turns
question
out.
then off of that. So, you know, it's a known thing, right? So, with respects to when you go out to investigate, and this is for both of you, when you go out to investigate, how much do you want to know before you get there?
I don't want to know anything.
Okay.
As much as I possibly can.
Both opposites here.
And I'm in between, so that's ironic. You know, Kirsten, why not? Why not anything?
I I don't want to know anything, and I think it's just something that I kind of got from Melissa of I kind of like to see what I pick up, what the energy I feel, the things like that, and see if it is actually correlating like to some of the history of a place.
I get that. I understand that, and I have people on my team that that specifically don't pick up the history packet, because they don't want to have a preconceived biasness. For example, if they go in and we have psychics on our team, that creates a biasness towards what they're going to
Hmm.
be picking up,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
They're going to remember a name, even if they don't consciously remember it. They will, oh, yep, that's the name I'm going to use. And there's studies done where people are, you know, driving down the road and they're asked to, maybe say a name or a color or something, and they pass by a very specific, you know, big red sign, and so most folks would say red,
Sure.
you know, and that's just because that was what we processed last. So um, I totally get that. I am by no means a psychic medium, whatever. I think I've got far too much ADHD going on for any of that. And so,
You think?
yeah, probably.
A smidge.
So people are like sit still, and I'm like, um, but you know, I like to know a lot about it because, for me, it gives me launching points into my investigation. So I might say, okay, well, I know that, you know, these are the couple of things that I'm trying to confirm or not confirm, you know, whatever it might be. Um, and I'm gonna utilize some of these names or some of these dates, or maybe I know that a very specific person here, had a favorite sport, you know, or something like that, and maybe I can utilize that to make a better connection, um, just based off of, you know, I guess familiarity. And I probably murder that because I'm never good at that word. But um, just, you know, oh, you know what? Let's talk about cars. Well, I like cars too. You know, and I feel like that's a really good way to try to interact. Um, so I'm torn. You know, I get both sides. I like to know everything. So
Well, everybody seems to be commenting around the same thought here too. Is like I'm in the same spirit as Chad. Is I went to
yeah,
history, but not the paranormal. And I'll say this: any place that has a day tour, I'll go do. You know, I'll get there early enough, or you know, come in the night before. Even a lot. Well, depending on distance, of course, too. That's always a concern, right? But long drive all night, all that kind of stuff. I made the mistake of years ago of going up to Western New York. Oh my gosh, where did I go? The Hinsdale House. Um, Drove up. It was a
Mhm.
Saturday night investigation. Drove up in the afternoon on the day of. We all had dinner, did the investigation, and then drove home.
Ooh,
And it's 4.5 hours each way. We investigated,
Woo!
till
I
4 in the morning. So
struggled doing that with Crescent.
yeah, that was a bad
Oh,
idea. So I learned my lesson. There's a radius now of window or radius of
mhm.
distance that I
Yeah,
won't do.
I
But
did Hinsdale, but I also slept. I slept there. I was in the
yeah,
what is
I
it,
thought it was closer. I
the
don't know.
boys' room, kind of like right there in the kitchen.
About the kitchen.
That'd
Yeah,
be cool to
Yeah.
sleep there.
Yeah,
it
or
was not. No, I mean I typically I will tell you I have slept in some of the most insane freaking locations because I can sleep. I mean, I've slept in a Hard Rock cafe before, okay? So, um I could not sleep at Hinsdale. I got the worst sleep in the world because I am laying there in the bed and I am hearing the back doorknob jiggling consistently throughout the night as if somebody was trying to come in. I know, I know that there are metal bars on the other side of that door. That did not stop me from hearing and just oh my
okay.
god, I don't know what it was, but all night it sounded like somebody was trying to come through that door, and I just couldn't sleep because I'm like Dan told me there's a crazy neighbor. Like, is it the crazy neighbor? I don't know. So
Well,
It's okay.
yeah, Heather's comment here is a valid thing. So we did Trans Allegheny, and they had Heather and Bert are husband and wife. If you can't get the Lynch thing, but they had the idea of getting an Airbnb. Chad and I crashed with them, and Bert made the best breakfast I've ever had. So, and
there you
it
go.
made it easier, a whole lot easier. It was much simpler. So, but otherwise hotels, whatever. But hotels are boring. Airbnb,
I've got like a two
VRBOs.
hour radius for me now. If
Yeah,
it
that's about
gets
mine.
outside of 2 hours, I'm finding somewhere to crash.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do 2 hours. Head
Yeah,
home. If it's more than that, nah.
yeah. I don't do it anymore. Like I'm afraid of falling asleep on the road or like I get road fatigue like a champ.
Mm,
Um,
sure.
I can drive very long distances and then somebody's like, "Hey, tell me about your trip," and I'll be like, "I don't remember it." And so that scares the hell out of me.
That's
so,
what
Well, I've
so
had that where you just like, how did I get here? Like you're
yes,
passing it, your exit. Like, how did I get here?
yes.
The
my
blackout
my
part of it.
biggest of how maybe I should get a hotel next time was Crescent.
Okay.
I drove like 2.5 hours, and I'm like, I need to pull over and like sleep in my car or something because
Hmm.
I'm not. I'm gonna fall asleep now.
Yep. And the world's a crazy place anymore, man. You just don't want to
Oh
like
yeah.
I have totally considered just sleeping in my car because I'm not like I've totally napped in my car before.
Mhm.
But I mean, these days I'm kind of afraid of even doing that because like you don't know who's gonna be staring at you when you wake up.
No, I don't like that. Mm-mm.
Well, as long as it's not law enforcement, you might be okay.
Dirty
Um,
Mike and the boys.
well, and there are. When I was younger, I'm old now, so I'm going to say this like back in my day, but there used to be a whole lot more rest stops than there are now.
Yeah,
Places at least on the interstates. It doesn't seem like there's much anymore. So the places that you were well lit. There were other people around. Something was going on. That wouldn't be like just pulling off the side of the road and then dealing with whatever. So
yeah.
there's something there.
But they are far and few between. But yeah, I kind of agree. Going back to what Chad had said, and Bert, I like knowing the history, but I also shy away from getting too much paranormal information.
Yeah.
And I fully agree with that statement because I think in the same way that a psychic would go in and knowing all of the history, start connecting dots that might not be there. I think that if you go into a location fully aware of what all these other people had experienced, and I'm not saying you can't have a generic understanding, like, oh, well, yeah, well, we have definitely seen full body apparitions here before. But if you say, well, listen, I had a full body apparition. I saw it right over there, and I saw it at like 10 o'clock. I just feel like, again, you're setting yourself up to misinterpret what you might be experiencing.
Yep.
And I think it does a disservice to your data if you go in there and you expect, you say, okay, well, all these folks said this, I'm going to go there. And I think I think unconsciously we do that already anyways. For example, I'll give you a St. Albans Sanatorium.
Mm.
One of my favorite locations. Absolutely love it. It's here in Virginia, Radford, Virginia. It's a former insane asylum. Um, but I will tell you, every time I go, whether it's a public investigation, whether we're leading the public investigation or attending it, or I'm there with just my team or whatever, we always, what's the first thing that you do? You get to a location, it's massive, and you know that there's, a couple of places that you want to hit up. You start. You're like, where do we want to go? Well, there's the bowling alley, or there's the boiler room. There could be the suicide bathrooms. But what happens is people have already pre-identified these as, these are the hot spots.
Yep.
And so most teams, and including all those times that I mentioned before, they go to the hot spots. That's what they hit, and everything else in between is missed, or just skipped over or ignored. And I don't know. There's something to that. I think um, one time, and I've been doing it ever since. This one time I went up there and I decided, you know what, I'm not going to hit any of the hot spots. I refused to go into any of the hot spots. I went to all of the locations that nobody ever talks about. I stayed in the hallways instead of the rooms, and I had just as much, if not more, activity than the people that were in the hot spots.
Yep.
And I think by building this dictionary of, well, I'm gonna, over here that has happened, over here this has happened, well, I'm gonna hit those three spots as my investigation. You might miss out on everything else. So I agree. I agree.
One thing there too, and I can speak from experience. We all went out to West Virginia Penitentiary a couple years ago, and your staging is in the lobby, area, and then they open a door that lets you just be in the prison.
Hmm.
And as soon as the door opened, everybody scattered,
I
inside.
have
Like,
not been in there, but my God, is that a massive place?
no, it's
It is.
amazing.
It is
It is. I
menacing.
recommend it. And
Holy crap.
let
When
us
you
know when you
just
want to go. We'll
drive
we'll
up to
coordinate.
it, okay, but when you just drive up to it, it's like blocks. It's
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Oh my
Yes.
God. Anyways,
What's more
continue.
impressive, and what's really more impressive than as impressive as the prison, is directly across the street is an Indian burial mound. And
Yes.
Ooh.
and if you get there in the daytime, well, actually you can do it at night, as to it. I don't believe it's secured, but you can walk up it, and you
Mhm.
have an aerial view over. It's above the prison, and the prison's 3 floors,
Yes.
so it's that's how tall this
And
mound, big this mound is.
that
Um,
mound, because I parked right up. So my buddy and I were driving to Indiana, I think it was, and we passed right through there, and I'm like, Chris, we gotta stop. We gotta stop. I want to see this place. And he's like, because I'm the one that will take detours out the ass. Like, I am. Oh, that looks cool. That looks cool. That looks cool. And Chris, my kind of like my brother in the paranormal and honestly everything. But he's like, dude, we got to go. We want to get there on time, right? We want to get there on time. You want to be on time? Okay, we got to go. And so
and
I
you said squirrel
convinced
and gone.
I convinced him for us to stop. We were not allowed to walk up the mound, but we did see the mound in
Okay.
daytime, and it is massive. It is like you said. It I've seen pictures of it, but it doesn't. I don't think it truly uh I guess encompasses how large and how massive of like it's it's impressive in all the worst ways. It's impressive at how
Yeah.
large it is.
Well, so in the same concept of what you described your trip as, I had to take a business trip out to Cincinnati back in October, and my coworkers who came with me, our videographer and our photographer. One is interested in the paranormal very much so, and will actually be a guest in about 2 weeks. And
Awesome.
the other is interested but not as significantly or deeply, at least not out loud. So, but we chatted in the car a lot, and
Closeted paranormal investigator.
well, maybe okay, right? Uh, Everybody comes around in their way, right? So whenever they're ready. But as we drove out, we basically went through Wheeling, so we're 15, 20 minutes north of Moundsville, and I said, on the way back, if we have time, which we could, we had to get back by a certain time to return the rental we had.
Yeah,
Um, we'll see if we can stop. So we left early enough the day of return, and luckily made it there at like 11:30, which was enough time to wander through the museum of the burial mound and up the mound, but also then get the history tour at the prison.
that's awesome.
So we got to walk through it. But that whole premise of like, you know, let's just take a quick side trip. It's no big deal. It won't take that long. It took like 2 hours total, maybe 2.5. And we made it back like right when we had to be at the. Anything more would have been a problem. But and
Hi,
and
Heidi.
that's the day tour though, to set up for the night. And I did the same tour before when we were there, because I wanted to know the layout of the place. And for me, that's the more important part.
Yeah,
Is the history's great. Okay, I appreciate it, and I'm sure it's verifiable. Because it's the organization of the place's telling
yeah,
of their history. I have to
yeah,
trust
yeah.
that. But when you're wandering around in the dark,
It,
things, you get
it's a
lost quick
maze.
in
Yeah.
these big maze-like places. And
Hmm.
yeah, sure, everybody knows where the hot spots are, but same idea as yours. I drifted away from the places where everybody was going, like the certain cell
Yeah.
block where someone died in, and certain other areas. Like I went up to the medical ward upstairs where nobody goes on the tour. And went out to the chapel in the main yard. Just
Yeah.
because these are different things, different
I
areas
mean, yeah.
that
Think
aren't
about that.
accounted for.
The chapel inside of a prison. I mean, my God, what would be more emotional and more powerful than the chapel of a prison,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that is somebody's only freedom in some of these situations. That's their escape. So that I mean that makes total sense. That would be like an amazing location to investigate.
mhm,
It's not, it might not be a hot spot like you said, but I mean, think about the connection that you might be able to make there.
absolutely. And I'll add this: that there was the largest bat there I've ever seen. I swear this thing was
And
a
it's
freaking.
got bats, man.
It was a pterodactyl
Love
sized bat. It
bats.
was it was amazing.
Yeah, they got horse bats.
And it was stuck. The poor thing was stuck. Like the doors were open, but it couldn't figure out how to hang a left to get out. So, and Chad just
Chad, you
commented,
didn't help it. You didn't like catch it.
dude, the thing was bigger than my head. I mean, it was amazing.
You
The
should have helped
wingspan was
him.
like 40 feet long. I mean, I don't know how I even got in there.
Bats are so cute. I love bats.
Same.
So, but, and well, that's all of that is the thought of, whether you want history or not, or whether you want paranormal. I didn't want any of the paranormal, and the history tour is none of it, and you'd have to ask specifically. They talk about who people might have died, because that's factual. But I also, Steve, you and I are a lot alike on this one. I claim to be unsensitive, not insensitive, but unsensitive to paranormal stuff. Like I have no mediumship ability, nothing like it, and I rely on those who do. Kirsten is one, Chad is another, Heather and
You're
Bert both
welcome.
are dear friends of ours. They all have it, and when I investigate with them, I rely on their sensitivity to
Yeah.
help expand, where we are with that
And I think
space.
that's not to say like I can walk into a room and I can tell the difference from a room and where I'm about to investigate. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I can walk in and there feels to be some environmental shift. Now, that might mean that the dead couple that inhabits this area is here and they want to communicate and play Monopoly, or my demon right over here is trying to eat my soul. It just feels the same, right? um and so
Yeah,
you're like, I feel like there's something here, and it's just like something with like 10 eyes and five wings. It's like Trogdor. um I'm glad you got that reference, Kirsten.
Absolutely.
uh, but you know what I mean? Like I can walk into a room and I can say, you know what, I want to investigate here. It feels heavy. It feels different. Now, I wouldn't be able to describe different. And that's where I feel like some people that have that mediumship ability are able to. They can describe it. They can, they can talk about its colors and its context where you and I can't.
Yeah.
It might be screaming danger, but we're like, oh, this is great. Let's do this place. And honestly, that's how I get in the most trouble. Is I'm like, let's do this place. Let's investigate here. And then I cue something that is attached to Chris and I for like 9 months.
Well, that speaking of St. Albans, we were down. I did not make this trip, but we were down there a few years ago now. I guess three probably, and one of our teammates, David,
Oh,
was antagonizing a lot. And on the way home, he had a really bad car accident
Hmm.
in Northern Virginia, and as he got home, he had something came with him that caused a whole lot of mischief at his house, along with his pets, and he had to have some help to get rid of it. So
Yep.
well, this is a whole different conversation, perhaps, but the idea of when you're the protocols or maybe or the etiquette even of investigating, like you don't know who's on the other side of your
Yeah.
conversation,
Oh
and
yeah.
regardless of how they present, perhaps the bit of equipment that we can utilize, and maybe the audio or video we capture in the moment that we can quickly review, but
I have a great
there's a
story on
trust
that,
factor
by
in
the way.
this of who we're working with on the other end of it.
I have
And
I have a great story on that, by the way.
okay, well, actually, I can tell you, Chad has commented that he was antagonizing Rebecca. If that rings a bell for you,
Oh my goodness.
at St. Albans.
Uh, I think so.
Okay, I thought we might have
I'm
broke you
feeling.
there for a second. Oh my gosh, we stumped you.
No, no. Actually, I know exactly. I know exactly what it is. I know what it is. Okay, I got it. Listen, I may have a horrible brain, but I know St. Albans. First off, hi Raven, how are you? I saw you hopped in. Um, but God, I had a good story on that. Oh, so story time. Can we story time?
Yeah.
Story time. Um, we. Oh God, now I'm flipping my stories because now all I can think about is St. Albans. Okay, I got it again. We were investigating a place in Richmond, Virginia. Okay, so let's think about Richmond for a second. Richmond was the capital of the Confederate United States, right? So it has a lot of history. The entire uh, the entire city burned, right? And I actually have a Harper's Ferry hand drawn uh, newspaper clipping of it. Um, but the whole city burned, right? Before that, Richmond was a pretty much a war machine. Any factory, any property, any building that they could get their hands on, they being the army, turned it into something for the war. It might have been a hospital. It might have manufactured weapons parts, bullets. I mean, you name it. Richmond was a well-oiled machine. And so, what happens after the war? First off, large majority of it is burnt down. What is not burnt down is kind of just dilapidated. Of course, you know it's revitalized after some time, um, and a lot of the buildings that still stand in Richmond today are those very same old buildings that were once part of the war effort, and even had a lifespan before that. Those buildings now are mostly apartments. And so, depending on what apartment you're in, it could have been a hospital, or it could have been somebody making bullets. And so, we were invited to investigate one of these buildings. One of the folks that lived in an apartment there was having experiences all through the night, and it was making her uncomfortable. And so, she was looking for somebody to come out and investigate. So we get there, and I ask her, well, where do you experience most of your activity. And so she's like, I hear it, all around, but mostly up on the loft while I'm lying in my bed. I will hear, a girl giggling. I will hear things moving around downstairs, but a lot of times it's when I'm on the bed and, I'm going to bed. And so, great, let's start there. So I set an audio recorder down in the middle of the bed and we start asking questions. Now, she was convinced that this spirit that was, in the apartment was a little girl that, maybe just unfortunately passed away at some point in, prior in the building. And, she was just comfortable there with her and her dogs. And, you know, that was it. Very, very nice little neatly packed story, right? I ask in the EVP session, are you the little girl? Are you the little girl that is here? And the EVP that we recorded uh, responded that yeah, it was the little girl, but the tone and the pitch was,
Oh, I don't like this.
"I'm the little girl," and
Mm,
it was a grown man. It was a grown man, and it was it was creepy and it was odd and it was off-putting. And I remember having to sit there with her and be like, this is the EVP we captured. I just like
I hate that.
being so convinced that whatever this is this child, and then it just turns around. Oh, such an awkward way. Now, I don't know if that spirit actually had any malintent. Maybe he literally was just looking for somebody to connect with. He could have been a soldier that was there that passed away in a hospital, and he was just so far from his home. And maybe the dogs and something reminded him of home.
Sure.
So not to not to like talk bad about him, but the just the preconceived notions that we build within ourselves when we go in there and we say, well, what are you experiencing? Oh, well, I get a little girl here. Okay, well, let's interact with the little girl. uh Things can lie to you. Things can lie to you.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you can't just take anything at face value. I mean, people lie all the time, and our best, our our biggest assumption in the entire field is that ghosts are dead people. Uh, Again, that's an assumption. That is not a truth.
Right.
But if we assume that, then that must mean ghosts also can lie.
There's a book I read a long time ago called The Speed of Trust. And then I'll save you the $8 for the paperback version just to give you this quick synopsis. And
Spark
it's
notes.
it's a little dry. I'm not going to lie, but it's one of those self help things, you know. But the point of it is that when trust is high, productivity is high.
Yes.
Outputs happen, outputs and outcomes. But when trust is low, where everything is slower because everything gets double checked and verified, and it's the protect yourself moment to make sure everything is as it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And there's I can't imagine if that's true in the social world of us, that it's not true in the spirit world as well. And
Yeah.
kind of goes to the first time when you're at a location, like a place that's been unexplored yet or uninvestigated. Uninvestigated. I'm making up words. Not been investigated yet. You're
We'll
kind of
take it.
teaching how to use equipment, right? Like or at least you believe you are. But then
Yeah.
when you've been someplace for a while and there's familiarity, things kind of move fluidly or smoothly. You
Yes.
have the familiarity at the Hanover Tavern. You're there
Yeah.
all the time. We have Booby's Brewery where we host. And we're pretty comfortable with what's going on there because of it, and it seems there's comfort with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But why
it's
would
a
it be different, right?
relationship, right? It's you have to build trust. And again, this is all based on so many assumptions.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
let's just assume, we'll just accept to assume for the moment it is based on a lot of faith and trust, because you know if we go with the idea that when you pass away, you're pretty much at that limit of knowledge, right? Because we're under the presumption that, and I'll share a location um, that I investigate. It is Henricus Historical Park. Dates back to 1622, and that is just, excuse me, 1611, and that is just when the English settled there. It is the second oldest English settlement in America, uh, after Jamestown. Jamestown became unsafe, and so a bunch of folks hopped on a ship. They started sailing up the river, and lo and behold, they found uh, a little peninsula that they could stay at. Oh, we're back. Okay, I was like, I don't know, I can't see anybody. All I saw was Chad.
Just Chad.
Just
He's
Chad.
trying to come in again, and then I'm gonna be honest, with you guys, I don't know how to put him there, so the button I clicked did not work. Sorry, Chad.
We love you, Chad. Um, just you know what? Listen, just call Jamie's cell phone, put him on speakerphone, and just hold
I
him
know,
up to the
right?
mic. We'll do it old school. So
And we'll get the echo and the reverb. I don't know.
Oh
Do we want
man.
that? Do we really want that? Dude, take the night off. It's cool.
yeah, why are you not? What are you doing with your
Aren't you
life?
tired?
If you're at Disney,
Exactly.
you should be going to see some fireworks somewhere, or
I'm
you should
at
be at
Epcot.
downtown Disney right now. Well, but I'm assuming they didn't have a park day. So because
That's true.
I did the whole drive down, and then the next day after we didn't do a park day, because, and this is only because I'm a goddamn Disney nerd. God bless America. Um, but you can actually get into the water park the day that you arrive, by the
Ooh,
way, for free.
okay.
Uh, so you could do a whole day at the water park and then go to Disney Springs and eat at some of the best, oh my
Oh yeah,
god, the
Oh, it's so
best
good at Disney Springs.
restaurants in the
yeah.
world,
I
the
agree.
whole wide world. Have you been to Morimoto's,
Yes.
the
Oh,
Asian fusion?
Yeah.
Oh my
no,
god,
I've seen
oh
it.
my god. And then did you go to Gideon's, the bakehouse, the cookies?
I did not.
Oh
No.
my god, those cookies, they're like 2 pounds each. But it is heaven, and it is all paranormal inside. Like, it is a vibe. It is a vibe to
Ooh.
behold. You have to Google it. Gideon's Bakehouse. It looks like you walk into like this Harry Potter esque kind of Tim Burton world. It's magical. Anyways, I think we're off of that tangent. Let's come
Yeah.
back to Henricus. Um, thanks, Chad. Chad sponsored that derailment.
Woo. Didn't take
Um,
much
Yeah,
either.
thanks,
That's
Chad.
the amazing part. Well,
uh,
while we're off the rails, I
okay,
do want to. There is a reason we have you here.
okay, okay.
So
All right,
like,
I'm in.
and I think I set you up for this back when I saw you in Gettysburg. Um, when we host events, and I'm not sure how you do your openings, but we do the history of the place. We do some of a light cover of the paranormal.
Mhm.
Um, we do a grounding bit. We do a prayer bit, and then we do some rules. And in the rules part kind of thing, we talk a little bit about like who's seen a show before, and most hands go up because somebody's
Yeah,
seen that,
yeah.
something on, and because they've been around forever, and they're available everywhere, all the formats. But I say, well, it's nothing like that, because we're going to be here for like 3 hours, not 3 weeks.
Yep.
You watch an episode, it's the best 43 minutes of airtime they have. There's a lot of storytelling involved in that, a lot of
Mhm.
walking around the dark, talking to themselves in that. The
Yep.
reveal itself is 3 to 5 minutes, depending,
Yeah.
and they're out,
An entire
so
week condensed into 30 minutes for
yeah,
your pleasure.
but you've done this. So as with Ghost Finders, you've done many episodes. So I really would like to have, if I may, what's it really like to
Ooh,
do a
trade
show?
secrets. Oh my god, trade secrets. Um,
I
I
mean,
don't know if
whatever
I
you're
can.
contractually allowed to share.
I don't know that I can tell you. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's fun. It's exciting. It's different for every. I guess every show that I've been on, or am yet to be on. I actually aired for a show in Gettysburg that was supposed to premiere this fall, and then I don't know what happened to it. So, but it's cool. Anyways, um, it's kind of different depending on I guess the style of the show, who your producer is, and that sort of thing. So, Ghost Finders, we typically have a schedule ahead of time, right? So it's going to be, hey, we're going to be filming on site for for 2 or 3 days. Um, and during that time, we're going to film intros. We're going to film, we're arriving at the location, film the walkthrough, with Rob and Heidi. And then we'll do, some history with me, investigate a little bit, do some sort of conclusion, you know, that sort of thing. So we have these like rough like ideas of how the episode is going to go, just based on the format of the show. So with that, when we get on site, we kind of get to explore, and so I really enjoy kind of that portion of it, because the very first thing when we do when I get on set, I explore. I explore. I've already have a lot of knowledge, and I've shared that with some folks like Dan on uh, email, that sort of thing. But I already know a good bit, and then I get to meet the owner or meet a historian, and I tour with them. And that is so much fun. Like, my God, is it one of the most exciting things? And we filmed that, but I'm so much more like interested in what the person is talking about and sharing. On some of those tours, um, I got to meet people that worked at those locations. And I got to meet people that have worked at insane asylums that have very bad reputations when they were operating. But in this one particular woman, and I can't name the location, but this one woman, um, she was a nurse there, and it had a bad rep, and that's why I was excited to be there. I'm like, my God, I've heard so many crazy things about this location. Um, and the very first thing I did was I talked with her, and it was interesting because I asked her, I'm like, share me, tell me a story, like tell me what is one of the most what is one of those stories, one of the people that just held on to you for so long. um and she shared about this one young boy who was at this location, and you know he was disabled and slow, and she just took such a liking to him, a caring to him, that she almost treated him like a son, and he saw her as a mother. And it was so endearing and so different. Um, it wasn't a it wasn't the way that I remotely was approaching this location. By no stretch of the imagination did I ever come there to think, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to hear about this story." Like, it blew my mind, and just it made me realize that I was putting a very specific pinhole of light on this location when there's just so many stories. Um, and then she shared another couple of stories about other people, other folks that had been there, and the connections that she made with them. And it blew me away, because I just did not come there intending that. And so that is something that I got to experience on set, and it really altered the way that I look at investigating. Um, so you mix the good of having these interactions with the bad, which is always time, because there's never enough. And so it's like, let's do this. All right, now we need to get into investigating. So it can be, I guess, cumbersome in the sense that sometimes you don't get to investigate with the equipment that you want, um, and you don't get to investigate for the length that you want or the location that you particularly care to investigate. Because if you have an episode of you know the Ghost Hunters, where every single person, they're in this 5-story building, and every single person investigates one room in the basement, you're gonna be like, what the fuck what did I just watch? There's 5 other floors. uh so you don't always get to investigate on screen, at least the place that you're like, I really want to get there. um, but you do get to have really, really cool interactions and experiences while you are there. And it like I said, it might not be on screen because doing things like the Estes method, doesn't it's not very exciting on screen.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's not in live either. In
It's not.
a
It
lot of
really
ways,
isn't. It really isn't. And
but
so
it's a
like
useful tool.
it is, and I really enjoy utilizing the Estes, but you can only put so much of that on TV until you start putting people to sleep.
Sure.
So there does need to be some form of energy, right? Some TV shows do that with like clickbait, like, oh, there's a demon, or whatever, fill in the blank. Um, there's some that energize it with the interactions or the buildup of you know and then finally Steve enters the basement, and so there's different ways, but um it does have to have a sense of entertainment at the end of the day, because you want to have
Well,
viewers.
how often have you seen a show where at the end, when you come to you get all the process, right? So all the investigative opportunity is presented, and at the
Mhm.
end there's zero reveal. You know that is also boring TV, but that
Yeah.
is sadly that's the reality for most of us. Well, not sadly, honestly, that's the reality for most of us. There are times we will spend hours at a place, and we don't get the grace of being there for multiple days in most cases, because
Yeah.
there's just it's a resource problem, right? Time is a resource first of
Yep.
all, and cost. None of this is free for overall, so we're expending a lot to get to a place and be there. So our window is tighter, perhaps, but
Hmm.
the reality is most of us don't get stuff, or we get stuff that is so class C maybe of an EVP that it might be something, but it's not clear enough to be presentable.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not present it that way, I guess, just for the amount of crap you take. Once you put something out there that people pick apart anyway. So that's the lack of unity, I think, in the field. That's a whole nother conversation, I guess. But
Yeah,
um,
I mean,
some support.
I think first, I think there's two pieces to that. I think first off, if you are going to put out evidence, I think you are right. You do need to understand that there's going to be a level of um, speculation, I guess, right? Where people will poke at it with a stick, um, and there's nothing saying that that's wrong. I don't think that being skeptical of what we're recording, what we're experiencing is wrong. I think that is how you really derive some sort of understanding, at its purest, right? Some sort of explanation for what's going on. Um, I do think it is important to share data and knowledge. For example, at the Hanover Tavern, because I do have kind of a dual role. First, I investigate the tavern as Transcend Paranormal, but on the second hand, I'm also part of the executive committee for the foundation that operates the tavern. I've been a president of the tavern for a number of years, and so from that historical aspect, I also am kind of interested to have documentation from every team that does come in and investigate, because
Sure.
the more data that I have, and maybe I sift through it, and some of it I'm like, oh no, that's the ice machine. But that's okay though. I'd rather have that, and understanding that I've sat in the tavern with the lights off more nights than probably anybody, and I know these sounds, right? So I don't expect somebody that's just walked in there for the first time and they're going to investigate for 8 hours. I don't expect them to know that that's what the ice machine sounds like, you know. Um, but I do find it valuable to have all of that data kind of as a location ambassador, because then I get to build a picture on my side of, well, what is happening here. Um, and so I think there's a duality to sharing kind of your findings and then sharing it with the location. I think sharing it with location, I think that's great. I always do that, and as a place that it does allow investigating, I appreciate that. Posting it out on public, I think that is a whole different kind of grab bag. I have done that in the past with some of our transcend stuff. I don't do that as much anymore, Um, I've had people poke and prod. That's okay. I'm okay with it because I think that builds credibility. I just it's more of a time thing.
Oh
it,
yeah,
it's a time thing.
that's the thing we all lack, right? And
Yep.
I as I'm sitting here, I keep looking over, but here's my recorder. It's been sitting on my desk for like 2 weeks, and I've passed through this room 17 times. Like yeah, not right now.
Yep.
And it's probably going to be another couple days. I got a 4-day weekend coming up. I guess I'll get to something, but So okay, and well, in the sense, then you're there, you're at a location, what's the window in general, for time spent on site, from A to B, like start to finish, and then after a two-part question, I guess once you wrap, what's the length to get that product presentable to the public, and do you have a part in that process too?
So so the window. Um, it really depends on the location. Um, I've for example, when we filmed with the Ghost Finders at Henricus Historical Park, where I've talked a little bit about prior, um, we were allowed to be there. I think it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then leave Sunday. So we had a lot of time. I also have a really good relationship with Henricus, and it was at a time that there weren't much public through the area, and so we had access to the full city, the full park. There's other locations where we've had a 1 or 2 day window where it's pack in and how are we going to film. Typically it was like run or gun, run and gun, because there's just not a lot of time to set up all this equipment and all the the camera and the rigging and the lighting. um and so you might get in there at 11, 12 in the afternoon, and we'd investigate and probably be there until 3, 4 in the morning, sometimes later. And then that doesn't count like breaking down all the equipment too. Um, if it's a 2 day, it's so much more nice, because then you don't have to like pack up equipment on the day that you packed in. So you can actually sleep for a little bit. But you try to pack in as much as you can, because the more time on site and the more time that you're filming means the more opportunity that you have to experience something that is on camera. If you are just messing around and hanging out and using it as a vacation, and you're not filming, or you're just planning on filming at 11 o'clock tonight, you might miss something. And then you know what? There goes your episode. Um, so there is a you try to use as absolutely much window as possible. There was a location where we literally were walking out at the last minute, and then the following minute, another team was coming in to investigate for that evening. So we
Wow.
definitely have pushed it. Um, for something like Eerie Encounters, which is a YouTube series that myself and my buddy Chris Vaughn um, host, we literally run and gun the entire thing, and it's more of a humorous approach to the paranormal. Um, we have horrible dad jokes, and we just have a good time investigating. I think a lot of television shows really focus on like the horror and the scary side and seriousness. But more often than not, when I'm investigating and I'm laughing and having a good time, we get a lot of really cool experiences. So why not?
Excellent.
Um, so with that, it's much more of a um, it's kind of Chris and I's, I guess, project to explore filming and editing and the whole process, of publishing something. And we're both into editing and pulling all of these things together. So we don't have a lot of money to buy time at these locations, so it's like we might get an hour or two, and we're just gonna film. We're gonna see what we get. We might get into some dumb experience. I mean, we've gone out into the middle of the woods in a thunderstorm to try to find Bigfoot, at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. We've done some dumb things, and then we filmed it, and it just was funny. So we put it out there. But we had a much smaller window of time. So it really depends on what the budget is of whomever you're working with. Um, in terms of time to product presentable to public, uh, God, I did that. That is all over the board. When at first when I started filming Eerie Encounters, and I wanted to get into editing and learn how to do that side of things, it took me a really long time to just clip together pieces of the investigation that seemed interesting. Um, and so as time progressed, I got better at it. I get better at it. I get better at it. Then my son signed up for soccer. My son signed up for t-ball. My daughter's doing gymnastics. We're going on vacation, and then I just didn't have time to regain that interest.
Right.
And then it would sit for
Yeah.
forever.
Once
Uh,
once you give time from something you do to something else, it doesn't come back,
it doesn't
right?
come back, and
Yeah,
so
the void's filled.
there's a running joke with Chris and I because we have filmed for like 3 or 4 seasons worth of Eerie Encounters YouTube series, and we have one season out because everything is sitting on my hard drive. So so it depends. We've also done things with the Ghost Finders where we filmed. I've helped cut a little bit. Usually Heather does a lot of the editing. Time to Scream all depends on. Yeah. Well, that's true too. Because
Yeah.
it was just me or just Chris. And we were both very inexperienced. We were looking up like how to crop video. So it was very like we were learning as we were going. Um, with the Ghost Finders, it depended. It was definitely a little bit more time condensed because it was part of Paraflix, and you have a kind of a set schedule that you need to submit in the episodes for. So sometimes what I would do is, for example, when we would go and film, we would use my camera as camera B. And so Heather has camera A. She's got the really nice one. Mine is kind of like the side profile, or like if we were like running gun, something was happening in another room with somebody else, I might be running the camera over there. I would edit that for her because we had a shorter time schedule, and so she would be doing all the main bits. I would find interesting bits on camera B, cut them all, send the full video so that she'd have access to both of them. Um, so it really depended on what was your production. What was your did you have a contract that you signed, or was this like your whenever you could find 2 minutes YouTube series? So I don't know. It's different for different people.
That makes sense. We think of with production, with television production, there's a budget first of all, most important part. And
Hmm.
there's a team. Chad said that pretty well. How many people are editing it. And I always I always look at like old school ghost hunters. When they would show them doing review, like everybody's sitting around the hotel room or the hotel
Hmm.
lobby, wherever they were, and with their laptops and the earbuds in and everything, and then somebody would
It's
nudge
so
their loved
cozy and
one.
quaint, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not really that, right?
It's
So
never that. I can count on one hand how many times I've actually done that. I am hashtag blessed to say that I actually have done that. We one of the very first things that we did as a team when I formed Transcend Paranormal is we had a team review session. We did one, and that was it. But but there was one day that we all got together and we all brought our laptops and everything, and we sat down and listened to the recordings, and it was pretty cool. But nobody has time for that.
no, I mean maybe if you're on the road, right? And I get that, like that's the concept. And maybe if you're at a place for a week
Yeah.
or two, in between the morning to the night, there's a
Then
window
then
there.
you do have an opportunity, yes.
Sure, but
Beyond that, once you get if you're not on the road kinda like that, if everybody's going home at the end of the day, you're probably not gonna be sitting around with everybody.
sitting on my desk for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep. But it is nice, like you said, I mean, it is cool because for some of the longer shoots, uh, it would give me an opportunity because 'cause I'd be running my audio recorder. I would go and listen to some of, as much of, my investigation as I could, so that for day 2 of filming, I could incorporate day
right.
1 into my questions for day 2,
Sure.
so that it would be more of a conversation as opposed to, just a lopsided, one-sided, info dump,
Absolutely. Well, I think
interrogation.
I think you'd agree here to say this, that the best outcomes, and Kirsten, maybe you agree as well. I'd love your opinion, but the best outcomes I've had aren't around asking questions, like, especially not how did you die. That's like the worst thing,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Or do you know you're dead? All those kind of those questions make me cringe. But like the conversational stuff, I was in Booby's Brewery. I was sitting in the canopy room, which is one of the dining rooms on the first floor, talking about being a home brewer out loud. Like I've done this before. I've made beer,
Hmm.
and the foundation of the place is a brewery. So the original guy, Alois Booby, was the master brewer. He
Yep.
had history with this, and like just talking about how what I like to brew, and I've got reply. I got concept back. In it, not anything crystal clear, like, hey, where's your recipe X? That's what we all want to know.
Yeah,
Thing.
we're not getting that.
But just that concept that you're talking to somebody. We did the Clifton Five, or the Clifton Theater out in Huntington, PA, and
Hmm.
I was sitting talking about how much I enjoy going to the theater, and not
Yep.
just movie theaters, which it is now, but theater, to see plays. And we had a tripwire going down the center aisle and another across the front of the theater, and it lit up like a Christmas tree straight down the line from where I was and across the front of the theater. Like somebody just walked straight through there,
Yep.
and not asking questions, not looking for the dog and pony show reply thing, like, do this for that, to do this
Yeah.
for me, you have to do that there, like,
Yeah.
don't
It's
make a
interesting.
noise, all the stuff that, and I'm not knocking that. I'm not at all.
No, but
It
it's
is a
interesting
way.
when you stop having an interrogation and start having a conversation.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's interesting what happens.
Um,
It's a warm handshake.
yeah,
It is.
I mean, I'm kind of agreeing with you, Jamie. I think most of the best encounters I've had have been at Boobies, and it's been with Ani and Tekla,
Mm.
and just talking to them.
Yep.
And they're children there, right? And that's the other flaw I think we as adults have, is that we lose the fact that kids are people too. We talk down to them. We talk softly to them. We use small conversations, but we don't have the adult conversation that we have with each other. We have a different type of conversation
Hmm.
with kids, and that's kind of like a reservedness when it comes to this that we don't necessarily have to have. They're way older than we are, even though they're children.
Hmm.
So they've experienced some stuff by now. So it's really interesting to me, like
I
that
mean,
part of it.
I normally bring up their cat, and that's how I get response. Just start talking to them about the cat.
Ah,
Cats just want to kill humanity all through the centuries. It doesn't matter which
it
century.
doesn't matter. You're right.
Oh, it's
Yes.
my Aunt Christine. Hi, Aunt Christine. Um, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and I think that goes hand in hand with knowing some of the history, right? Because you could walk into the Clifton and know that it's, I mean, obviously, I guess you could look around and be like, oh, this looks like a theater, but you kind of have that history of knowing that these sorts of things occurred here, and so that might be a nice way to make a connection. So it's no more of like you said, what's your name? What's your favorite color? What do you like to do? It's very like forced conversation. I don't know. It's the world's worst small talk.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
that's all paranormal investigation is. It's
speed
horrible
dating going
small talk.
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah, like I don't know. If I feel like if somebody just started forcing these questions down my throat, I'd be like, I'll see you later. Give me something interesting to talk about, and I'm hooked.
Yeah. Chad's comment. There is someone in the canopy room that the last investigation, everyone was in the peacock room, not sure who they were talking to. I went and I sat in the mirror room and just was talking to whoever was in there. And yeah, questions that spirit will not answer, they stop. But if it's just us talking, we get a lot more from them.
Hmm.
interesting.
And I think there's something to that too, though, because I would agree that I always put it out in the analogy that you're sitting at home and you might be sitting on your couch and you're kicked back and you're relaxed. You're watching Netflix, and you've got your glass of wine here, and you're relaxed. Oh my gosh, you're just about to doze off, and then 10 people just bombard into your living room, and they're like, "What's your name?" And they don't look at you. They don't look at you. You're sitting on the couch over there, and they're like, "What's your name?" You know, "What's your favorite color?" And you're like, "What?" It's like, what do you do? Do you like answer them? No, I think I'd like run. I'd call the cops. Like I
Yep.
wouldn't. I'm not akin to like interacting with these people. Um,
I'd be
so
pretty angry.
yeah, right. So I definitely think that just having conversation that is inclusive, not like let's talk about our car interest rates, but if you know, God, they must have been really low in the 1800s. Um,
Yeah,
but
they didn't have a whole lot of horsepower.
right. um,
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. But have conversation that is contextual, not forced, but at a tavern, you can talk about, maybe if you have some history, politics of that time period would have been solid conversation. Gambling, play a game of cards. um Food and drink, right? All of these things were very popular. So, have conversation kind of along those lines. And it doesn't have to be like forced. You can still talk about what you did with your wife and kids over the weekend. Um, but have it in terms that is, I guess, in a way, transmutable over times of, periods of time.
Chad has another
Exactly.
comment.
Exactly, like Chad said. What if the spirits hear us and are confused by how and why we are there? Exactly, and that's why, I mean, for example, the tavern. And I was just talking about this the other night, and I don't have my candle here anymore. But uh, when I walk around the Hanover Tavern now, I try not to use like my flashlight or my phone on my flashlight, or I just don't turn the screen up. Um, I use candlelight, like an LED candle, right?
Sure.
Because old tavern, 1791 tinderbox. So I use an LED candle because that's it. That's what would fit. That
Mhm.
makes sense. That's comfortable. Instead of having this like huge bright thing that is just glaring, like I don't know. And it's the same thing with equipment. You put a cat ball out there, and you're like, "All right, dead human, play with that cat ball." And like, how does that? I don't know. And I'm sorry. I know I'm attacking cat balls right now. I'm sorry, everybody. But how does that make sense? Like, I swear to God, I swear to God, when I die, if you put a cat ball down and you try to communicate with me, I will find a way to break the god. I swear I will break it. I'll destroy it. Why? Why would you? Would you guys want to play with cat balls when you're
No,
dead?
I will. I just won't. I won't. That's the thing, right? Like
there's a
that.
higher there's a higher level of dignity
Yeah.
than playing with a cat ball as a dead person. And I don't know. I just and then we call them cat balls. We call them ghost balls now, and it's just weird. Exactly. Like Bert said, I don't say my flashlight. I use a candle, and I actually use a candle. I actually have oh man, I don't see them. I don't know where they are, but I have oh, I do have it there. I carry this to investigations now.
Yes.
Uh, these things are great, by the way, because you can do multiple colors. I use this for my investigation. It's plastic. It was like $20 on Amazon,
Yep.
but it is the perfect amount of light. And I feel like this is going to be something that's much more comfortable and akin than just a massive like 5,000 lumen flashlight. Um, I don't know. And I just feel like stuff like that is going to be much more comfortable, uh, because you know, like Chad said, what if they are scared of whatever this equipment is?
Oh my.
Um,
All right. Here, you knew this was coming.
it's fine. I'm not saying the cat spirits can't play with them. I think they're perfect for cat spirits. 10 out of 10 dead cats agree
Yeah.
that cat balls are perfect for cat spirits. I don't think a human is going to be like, oh, let me get it. Let's get it. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think.
Well,
Well, all right. So, Steve, I got to ask this
Kirstin,
then.
what? Go ahead. No, Kirstin, finish that thought there.
there was a public of movies where it was either Ani or Tekla, where
Oh.
we were back by the hall. We had a cat ball sitting in the middle of us, and someone was like, "Yo, I want to see this cat come and hit this ball, and like I want to watch it go flying." That thing perfectly went and hit this person in the chest, and I'm like, "That was not the cat."
No, that was frustration right there. Is what
It
that
was
was.
frustration.
And then I think they're frustration balls. I don't think they're cat balls anymore. When
Right.
that's it. That's how we advertise it. We flip it around. When the ghosts are angry, they're gonna smack the hell out of this thing, and that's when you know to stop.
That's your cue.
Frustration balls. Copyright.
There it is. All right. So, Steve,
12.99.
think back to when you started all those years ago. You had no equipment, right? You had minimal, at least. Maybe a
Mm-hmm.
voice recorder, maybe flashlight for sure. The stuff, and then you get the bug, and you start going out more, and then you start acquiring things to go out
Mm-hmm.
more with.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one thing that's been in your bag the whole time?
An audio recorder.
Okay, right.
Um, uh, audio recorder, and um, I had a camcorder. My parents got me a camcorder for
Wow. With
Christmas one year.
cassettes in it.
What did it have? Was it a cassette? It may have been a cassette. I think it was like a JVC or something like that.
All right.
Um, but but I was like, I'm taking this with me, you know, because I had, this was the early days of paranormal, and I'm like, I'm gonna record something too. And so that was what I started with. And it's funny that you mentioned that you go and you investigate and then you get more equipment, because I swear to God, that's what everybody does. And that's exactly what I did. I
Mhm.
feel like I fell into a trap.
Yep.
Um, you go to an investigation and you're new, right? You just get into the field. You go to investigation, you go to location. There's 9 other people there, and all of them have just bags of equipment. They got the backpack. They got the backpack, and then they got the case, and then they might have the second case, like me, because I still, for some reason, carry all the equipment around that I don't use. Um,
But you
maybe,
might. You
but I
might use
might,
it.
but I might.
That one
Uh,
time.
you know, um, or in Kirsten's case, 2 bags. So, uh, you know, you see all this, and then you're like, I need to get more equipment. I need to buy more. Like, I need this stuff, right? Like, I see everybody else investigating with it, so I must also need it. Um, and so I did that. I bought stuff, and I'm like, I'm so ready. And I remember all the investigations that I was just so stressed that I would forget to use something or not set something out or blah 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 blah, and it took away so much from the investigation. I felt like, because I was so dead set on making sure I was using everything, the whole arsenal, and I feel like I would just be missing the bigger picture. Exactly like Chad said. Um, you know, I don't. I I realized that the more I investigated, the less equipment I started to use. Over time, so it'd be kind of like a graphed out. You hit your apex and you're on your way back down. And that's why the audio recorder and camcorder still stick with me, um, because I feel like, you know I don't know. I feel like most of the equipment these days is what I like to call blinky light tools, or blinky lights, the blinky lights.
Yeah.
And that's really, unfortunately, that's what they are, and unfortunately that's what most television shows utilize, because, as we talked about, some forms of investigating aren't appealing on TV. right? SC session, not all that appealing. Watching that thing over there blink a bunch of times, um, much more appealing because it's visual, and then you can have people who are like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?"
Yeah.
And so
Sure,
now you've got entertainment.
you put
Um,
dramatic music with it as
Yeah.
well,
Oh yeah.
right?
yeah, it's
Like,
great.
"Ah."
Versus like
Yeah.
bed
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
25. Like it's just not interesting. Um, so
I mean, I think that's why Publix. I don't do runes and tarot much because it's like, oh, you're gonna just be sitting there watching me play with a deck of cards. Like,
Yeah.
it's not interesting.
Well,
maybe, I mean, but the nice
that's
thing
what
is if
TV
you're doing
ruined
that
it
in a
for a lot of us.
public. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And but that's the thing. Like, I'm that's something that as a person that has investigated a lot of locations, I have lugged all of the equipment out there, and then one by one, I have sloshed them off into the other case that I don't usually bring with me. And now I just have like my backpack and my camera. I've got I would be more interested in what you are doing at this point in kind of, I guess, in my journey, than well, let's see if the blinking light things are blinking. You know, I don't know. I'd be more interested in that just because it's a a different way, a different avenue of investigating that I personally haven't. Um, and I think that that's a big thing of mine. I don't think there's one right way to investigate.
Right.
I love going the scientific route, but I also find a lot of interest in the metaphysical side of things. I also really love history. So I'm this weird, like, wide array, and
You
I just
figured
find
this
it.
out with the weird, then we'd have got it.
I know,
You know,
but it's just so interesting to see how other people interpret and investigate in their own ways, and then it's interesting to see if their way also lines up with my way,
yep.
and can we find something a little bit bigger, bigger picture than just like one thing. So
I think it's you do public events often, and
yes.
and you don't know who's going to show up,
Mm-mm.
and even if you go to a place, there could be like a Tala, or someplace, these large asylums that, huge, massive properties. There might be more than your group in the building, you know. So, but there's a common area where generally everybody stages, So,
Yeah.
when you're working directly with people you don't know, they bring their own stuff if they have it, right?
Hmm.
But you get to engage with them, and that's the part I really do enjoy. Having a regular gig is tiring because you're committed. That's like being in the reserves. It's a weekend a month, right?
Yep.
Kind of thing. But it has its benefits as well because you get the energy of other people and the excitement that they have to the field that, if you've been at it for a while, you might not have as much of, or at least not that kind anymore.
Yeah,
And
and they
they
bring a
bring their
different
stuff,
energy.
whatever
They
they've collected too. And
Yep.
sometimes you find new things that you haven't seen yet.
They ask different questions. I mean, I
Yeah.
just investigated, um, with a group of middle schoolers that they have a paranormal club. And shout out to Cindy Weber, but she is a teacher at a local middle school that has a paranormal club, and she heads it up. And it is a number of students that have a common interest, and they meet once a week for a half hour or so and talk about paranormal. She asked me to come and speak to their class, and so to their group, and so I was able to do that via Zoom. um, and then we were talking, and I was like, well, Cindy, have they ever like investigated? And she's like, well, no, we haven't been able to find a location, um, you know for the publicly that we can investigate. I was like, well, bring them to the tavern. And so we got to investigate on a Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. There were about 11 folks, so there were a couple of parents mixed in with the kids and everything, and we got to investigate. And it was really cool, just listening to their questions and their thought process. I kind of sat back and let them. I explained it. I put out some of the blinky light stuff, and we put out some of the more tech stuff. I explained the EDI plus data logger all the way down to a K2, um, and so. I just let them kind of lead the investigation, and it was just it was fun because it was a different way than most of the publics where it's adults and they've watched the shows, and they're, I guess, a little bit more naive to dive in, where kids are much more open to just let's do it, let's ask some questions. um, I've noticed like adults that will come, you almost have to do a little bit of crowd work to kind of get people to like lighten up and relax. So I always like to joke with people, um, but I feel like once people let their guard down a little bit, they'll start asking questions. But that's usually not the first like 45 minutes. Once you get into the second rotation, people start warming up a little bit
Yeah,
more on the third, and then they finally get tired.
yeah.
Um,
And then they leave, right? Like to
yeah,
crash out by the third anyway.
but by that time you've already instilled, you've had to lead these people, so you're asking all the questions, so now they're just kind of like going to reiterate the questions that you've asked sometimes. So I do find a lot of value in bringing different people and different age groups and all these sorts of things into these places, because I feel like it's a different way of looking at the bigger picture that you might not normally look at. So it is exciting when that happens.
Yeah, and well, public stuff then, right? So you look at when people roll in together, they come in their cliques, their
Hmm.
circles, and there's inevitably there's couples, and one of the other doesn't really know why they're there,
Yes.
right? And therefore,
We've had folks where it's, there's the husband and he's just like,
yeah, I don't believe in this stuff, and by the end of the evening, they're the one asking questions and
yes,
fully
yes,
engaged, right? Yeah, right.
yes,
And
yep,
but that is, well, for me at least, I could say that that's a sign that they wanted to be there all along and just didn't know it yet,
Mm.
yeah.
and that they're probably going to come back around to it somewhere as well. And,
I mean,
that
we
the true
have,
believers, and there's a circle of them in every crowd as well. Like they're just all in right away. That energy's there, but how the vibe changes, from eh, to ooh, I love that
I
moment when it
almost,
clicks.
I almost appreciate that more because I do believe, like you said, there are people that are believers because they need to believe, inherently
Mm.
believe there is something else, right?
Right.
That when we die, it's not just a blank screen, right? That there is something else. We get to, we get to be free, and that there's a purpose behind all of this. Um, but I love the people because this is also how I approach it every investigation, where I'm like, this isn't true. It's all made up. Prove me wrong. And I really find value in that because that means you're bringing a very healthy skeptical view. And I don't know, I feel like there are people that they they want to say that they're skeptical, but they maybe really aren't because they still have that desire, that need. And then there are people that are just, you literally, this is, I'm looking at this piece of evidence, I can tell this is a lens flare.
Right.
And I guess just being having such an analytical brain, that is where I reside. I need it to be undoubtedly, I can't explain it before I can say I can't explain that. If I have a shred of doubt, I'm way too vocal, way too vocal to sit there and not be able to just say I can't do that. That's no, I don't think that's that, because I think that adds value to whatever you're putting out there, whatever you're saying. This is unexplainable.
This comment kind of
Yeah, exactly.
for those who can't see it, Bert just asked, when we die, we get to have living people ask us a bunch of stupid
Stupid
questions.
questions.
I
Yes, sir.
already I already know what my tagline's going to be too, by the way. So when I die and people come and investigate, they're going to know it's me when they start asking questions and they're just like, "Is there anybody here with us? Why are you here?" And I'm going to be like, "We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty." That's mine.
Yes.
It's going to be mine.
All right. You're the one.
I'm
You
claiming it.
well, no. Now I know.
It'll either be me or my buddy Chris, because both of us, we will go into locations and we'll do that sort of stuff. I mean, we'll call it out afterwards, but we, if because we're horrible people, we will walk by and see an audio recorder running, and we'll kind of like creep up to it and be like, "We've been trying to reach you, but your cross is clear morning," and then we just leave it for a second, because when somebody listens back to that and they think that there's an EVP, they're not going to listen for the 3 seconds afterwards for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And because I do it too, when I capture an EVP, I hone in on that little bit. I don't listen to the next 5 or 6 seconds afterwards, not for a while. So they'll hone
You'll
in
be
and they'll
on
be
it.
like,
Yep.
oh, "What is that? What is that? I can't hear that. Hey guys, anybody know what this is?" And then they finally will start listening to the rest of the audio clip, and we'll be like, "That was Steve."
Steve, I'm gonna tell you, I've done this exact thing, and here's why. I take what we do seriously,
Oh yes,
but I don't take myself seriously.
yes.
And I think, the having a little bit of fun with all of what we do, it's important. But especially when it's you can do it to somebody else.
I mean,
We were at West Virginia Penitentiary, um, and there is a famous picture of a shadow figure at the end of a hallway, and it is coming from where you come in to the door where this figure was captured was going into the cafeteria, and it's kind of like the hallway, like it's the main way through from the um, maximum security wing and the administration section all the way back to where the staging area is. And Chad and I are walking back, and we realize that folks are investigating that space, and they have a laser grid up the hallway. There's like 4 people down there. They're doing an EVP session, and they're very, very serious. What they don't realize is what they don't need to know, I guess, either, is there's another room off to the side that you can pass through most of the way, but not quite all of the way to get past them. So I'm like, okay, let's just go this way and see how it plays out. When we get to the door, and they're still full in. So they're like, is anyone there? And I'm like, yes. And then, like, did somebody say yes? I'm like, come closer. And at this point, like they're like, "Oh my god, we've got the best capture ever." And then I step out, because I'm laughing too hard not to keep this going or to go. And then the sad look of disappointment that I created for these folks when they had the capture of a lifetime. Um, but and
so
I apologize profusely. I said I couldn't help myself, and some knew me, some didn't. That was the problem, I think.
so we do a ghost tour at the Hanover Tavern once a month, and the woman that is our tour guide, our hostess, Tiffany, is a team member, and we've known each other for a very long time, probably over a decade now. And so we have a very brother and sister relationship, right? We are always just on each other for just harassing the shit out of each other for fun. um so she's giving the tour, and my buddy Chris and I are also there this particular evening, and she usually brings groups into the theater. The tavern has a theater. It's in the basement. It's 155 people, and it's an in the round. It's kind of similar to that. You can basically you sit on 3 different sides of the theater, right, or the stage. And so she's standing on stage, talking about the spirits that are in the theater and the activity and the history around it. And during that time, Chris and I uh, have quietly excused ourselves backstage, around the back, behind the curtain, and then we poke our heads out through the curtain and we tell everybody, "Shh." All the tour guide guests are sitting in the chairs. There's like 15 people, and we're like, "Shh." And so, so everybody's quiet. Nobody acknowledges us, and we both creep up very quietly. I mean, like we had taken off our shoes and everything. We creep up quietly and we get behind Tiffany. And oh my god, we scare the absolutely living hell out of her. And oh man, I mean, people just erupted, and just people were laughing their asses off. So Tiffany didn't appreciate it very much, but we did, and it was It was so fun. But I think after that we went back to the tour. But I do think that there is a level of you have to find some, like, I guess, comic relief in the paranormal a little bit, because
Yeah.
I mean we literally, if again, if we go back to our assumption that ghosts are dead people, we're literally just like exploring death. That's what we literally are doing, right? We're poking at, prodding at something and saying, "Hey, are you dead?" Without asking it, "Are you dead?" Um, and it's an interestingly morbid curiosity, right? And I feel like it's got kind of its own existentialism associated to it. I don't know if you guys have existential dread, but I sure do. And I think that you do have to have some humor in it, or you are just going to just overwhelm yourself. I feel like it's very much so. If you stare long enough into the abyss will stare back, kind of mentality, and you've got to have some lightheartedness to it. It can't be serious all the time.
Yeah, I agree. 1,000% on that. And and every once in a while, you got to buy something that's not black to wear.
Hmm.
So it's important.
I have a red shirt on under here, by the way. It's red.
Fair enough.
It's just this room is above our garage, so it's always cold in here during the late fall and
There
winter.
was a great meme right before Halloween about like paranormal uh, people sorting laundry. And like paranormal people do. It's just one load.
It's just
And it's
one
all
load.
black. So
I mean, that's not that's 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 not false. That's completely. I
uh,
mean, most of my clothes, I'll tell you, I would do one step above. I do heather gray.
ooh,
Ooh, fancy.
Yes, and that's my black. I mean, I do. I mean, obviously, I'm wearing a black hoodie right now, but I've got a mix of black and heather gray, and so they still both go in the same load.
right, fair
But
I
enough.
think from getting out of the live event career area, because I used to work for a stage company. It
uh-huh.
was everything was black,
Yep.
and now
Yep.
I'm a project coordinator for food manufacturer, so I actually get to wear colors.
You're like, what
Ooh.
is this? It's blinding.
Yep. Ted does it well here too. Paranormal people and theater technicians. There it
Oh yeah,
is. It's the
Yep.
uniform.
Yep. That's
Oh
funny
my
though.
gosh. Now, Steve, we're rolling on an hour and 50. I got one more thing I would like to ask of you,
Okay.
and then obviously you can go wherever you want still too. But so in your vast experience, is there a place that you've been to that you just can't shake it? Like it draws you, and you want to go back, have to go back even. And I'm going to ask you to separate the tavern because that's an
Yeah,
obvious
yeah, yeah.
answer.
No, that's no. Yeah. Yes. It's just a question of, do you want a heartwarming one, or do you want a uh creepy shit happened one?
We'll take them both.
Okay. Heartwarming one is going to be easier, so we'll go there first. A place called Dunloran, and we talked about it already a little bit because we're hosting an event there in December. But it is a bed and breakfast in Mineral, Virginia, out in coal mining town, coal mining country. Um, and you know, it was built around 1916. It's not really old, right? It's just over 100 years old, but it is the way that Sheena and Tony have poured themselves into this building. It's so welcoming, and it feels like home. I can go there and feel like I haven't traveled, type of place. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
Like when you travel and you go and you're at a hotel and you're like, this is new, and you know you just, your body routines and everything are just out of whack. It's just so welcoming and relaxing, and it's just such a great location. It's there's it's paranormal activity. um and I mean, I've actually, my wife has seen a full body apparition in there when we were staying there. So she doesn't like sleeping at the Dunlora. I don't mind. I honestly, a fire truck could park in front of my house and wail all night, and I'd still sleep. Um, so I don't wake up to anything, anyways. But um, it's just such a, I don't know. There's, it feels like home, and it's a nice place to feel like I've finally returned. And so I always look forward to my Dunlora visits, and like that's why I'm looking forward to this upcoming one, because we get to host the event, and then we have an annual. Our Transcend team does have an annual like white elephant gift exchange, but it's all like shitty gifts, and it's like a $20, $20 or below.
Yep.
Now it's full range, so it doesn't matter. People have brought liquor, wine, gift cards, lottery tickets. They've also brought blankets in the form of a tortilla to and this is weird, Bigfoot erotica to somebody somebody brought a little pickle, like a little crocheted pickle that said "I believe in you." Um, God, oh my God, Misty brought pickled pig's feet as a gift one year. Somebody brought. Do you know the Cards Against Humanity? Cards Against Humanity,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Do you know the update where they put everything? They put the update in a jar of clamonaise.
Oh, sadly,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a gift once. That was also subsequently the day that I tried clamonaise, and it was horrible. Um,
Mm-mm.
but it's just anything goes. It's some of the weirdest. I mean, I got a voodoo doll last year. so so it's just like it's a full range of things, and it's just so fun, and it's just something that I almost look forward to as kind of like a Christmas tradition, right?
Sure.
So I think in the aspect of like warm and fuzzy, that is a place that I always, I just always want to go back to. I love going there. It's just such a nice place. There's even a ghost there that occasionally will start the Keurig and make you a cup of coffee in the morning. I shit you not.
Wow.
Yeah. Talk about service.
That or trying to get you out. One or the other.
I don't know. I don't care. I like it. I
Coffee's
like
coffee. I'm not going to argue
um
either.
from a more of a like aggressive side. Um Same trip filming up in Indiana for the Ghost Finders. We were at Randolph County Infirmary. We were investigating there with Dan, their owner, and it's a really cool location. Had a lot of fun investigating there. Learned a lot about the history of the. It was actually a poor house at one point in its life, and so I learned a lot about that and how it kind of like had its own government within the building, including its own prison, which is really interesting. A one cell prison. Um, on one of the top floors, no less. You'd think that'd be like downstairs somewhere. No, top floor. Um, so we investigate there as part of the show, right? And this is one of those times where um, we, the schedule when we were talking about the episodes and what is it like filming behind the scenes didn't work out very well for us, because usually when we go and film at a location, we have the ability to investigate it ourselves afterwards. No cameras, so I can sit there and I can do my STs. I can sit there and do, you know, data logging, which by God is not by any means entertaining, but I find it really valuable when I can go back and look at my data. Right, I love looking at environmental data side of things. Um, but we didn't get that opportunity because another team had booked it for that evening. So packed up everything, and I'm like, man, this just really sucks because like you know, great location. Really want to explore it. I drove like 13 some hours, whatever it was, and I'm like, man, I just wish we could have investigated somewhere. And Dan's like, listen, I just bought a location next town over. It's never been investigated. If you guys want to come over and investigate it, maybe 8 o'clock, whatever. I'll meet you up there and we can investigate. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like when in Rome. I don't even know what this place is. I don't know anything about it. It could have been you know, a portage on out in the middle of a field, and I was like, let's go. Um, and so we agreed to do it, whatever. Um, grab some food, hit the road over there, next town over, probably 10, 15 minutes. And we pull up, and it's this tiny, tiny, just very normal community church in this small town, small town America out in Indiana, Midwest kind of area. And so um, I'm like, I don't know if we're in the right place. And so Chris is with me, of course, and we're like double checking to see if we're here, we're in the right place. Like we're literally parked in front of like some houses. There's like some small houses right near it, and we're not quite sure what's happening. And the next thing we know, Dan pulls up in his truck, gets out. He's like, "All right, let's head in." And we're like, "Okay, this is it. I guess we're going into this small church." So we head in. We head inside, and Nathan Withers, one of the camera guys, he's again, I think he's kind of the same as you and I, where it's like we're not psychic mediums by any stretch of the imagination. I can walk into a room and know something's up. Nathan can too, and he was like, "Nope, I'm out. See you guys later. Have a good evening." And me being me, I'm like, I'm in. Like typical like white person in horror, kind of niche thing. I'm. What was that sound? Should I stay inside with the door locked? Absolutely, but no, I'm not. I'm going out. And so I did that. We go inside, and I remember asking Dan. I'm like what did you why did you buy like this random church? I'm like, you've got this infirmary over here, this mansion. You've got this Victorian place over here, this house. You've got a jail. Like what is it? Why a church? And he's like, the history. And I'm like enlighten me. I don't understand. I don't know the history. You know. And he's like, do you know Jones, Jim Jones? And I'm like Kool-Aid Man, Jim Jones. He's like, yes.
Hmm.
And that is the day that I found out that history
Oh,
occurs in the middle of nowhere. Because this was the childhood church of a young Jim Jones, the Kool-Aid Man. Jonestown. Just
yep.
Google that for anybody that doesn't know. Um, but I was not prepared to walk into Jim Jones's church because this is a place that he didn't lead this church here. This is where he built his ideas. As the story goes, a young Jim Jones and his mother were trying to find the right church for them in the town, and they attended this church. And his mother thought that it was just way too out there, very I guess fire brimstone, kind of aggressive, just not what they are looking for. Young Jim, however, for some reason, found a very strong liking to it. And so he was attending church there in secret for a number of years. Um, in the meantime, he was also um, performing mock funerals on a daily basis for roadkill. He would go and have small coffins made for the animals, and he would bury them on a daily basis. I don't think there's that much roadkill, especially in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
So one begs to differ. Was that roadkill? Anyways, he was doing this daily. So this is a place that formed him. And so we split into groups, and by groups I mean me and everybody except for Chris went to the basement, and Chris went upstairs by himself. And those were the groups. So Chris is upstairs by himself. We're downstairs. We hear this loud thump, just massive, and it sounded. I swear to God, it sounded like a body picked up like horizontally and dropped. Um, it was so loud that it actually shook the drop ceiling that was above us, and thankfully I was recording with a camera, so I actually have it where it's like it shakes. And so we're like, what was that? What was that? I thought it was Chris, like maybe he ate shit while he was like trying to walk down the stairs. And so we're running up the stairs, nowhere, no Chris. seconds, a couple seconds later, Chris comes running down the stairs and he's yelling, "Are you guys okay? Are you okay?" Because he thought I ate shit walking up the stairs. So, so which I have done. So we realized that this wasn't a person that did this, and we start reviewing the footage because he was also recording, and he had his camera sitting on the floor, and it vibrates a little bit. You can actually he could feel it in his feet, like in his shoes. And so we kind of figure out, okay, well, where was I? Where is the sound coming from in my video? Where does it sound like it's coming from your microphone? So on and so forth. And we realized that it's coming from this small room that's right behind kind of the sanctuary. And so we go in there, and it just feels heavy, 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 like Get Out heavy. And we decide this is the spot to investigate. This is it. Because like everything is like, do not do this. This is bad idea, bad idea, bad idea. And we're like, right here, this is the one. And so I sit down and do an SD session. And I will tell you, I did 2 sessions in there. About halfway through the first one, um, that's where I stop remembering things. I know because it was filmed. I have a good understanding of what happened, and Chris was also there. But I started talking about um, people like their chest feeling hurt, and at the same time, everybody in the room started feeling pressure on their chest. Um, I was talking about things about each person and some of their own personal, family members or things that they were keeping to themselves, kind of deal. Um, and very threatening. Um, I also know that at one point Chris walked out. He sat down and I mean, neither Chris nor I are very religious, but he started praying. Um, and after a couple minutes, he came back in, and again, I was still in the SD session, and I said, "Welcome back, Chris." So it was very, very odd. After that, I got up and apparently made my way into the sanctuary. I stood up at the front of the church as if I was about to give a sermon. And then I walked into some room off into the backside. Um, and then I was upstairs at some point too. I went upstairs by myself. And then ultimately, what I finally remember is standing outside of the church, and Dan had just locked it up, and it was Chris and myself and Dan. And I remember telling Chris, we should go back. We should go back in there. We should go back in there. I want to go back inside. Fully knowing that, by the way, we had to drive like 14, 15 hours home the next day. I'm like, we should go back inside. And Chris is like, no, we should not. And so we went back to the hotel, and Patty Negri, who was with us, and Megan Deputy, and a couple of others, were doing cleansings. And so they cleansed both of us. And um, I just didn't know how, like, I didn't realize that there was a huge portion of that I just don't remember, or very, like little splotches of memory, because it almost felt like I was co-host of my own body. Just like, the three of us are sharing a screen kind of deal. Um, and so, next day, just absolutely exhausted. We pack up and head home. Um, Next investigation, Chris and I go on. It's just him, myself, and one other friend, and we're investigating the Hanover Arts and Activity Center here in Ashland, Virginia, right up the road. And first things out of the SC session, it relates right back to the church. Um, it says, Chris is like, well, where are you? Or it says come back. I say come back, and Chris says, where? come back where? And um, I say the lighthouse. And he says, well, I've never investigated a lighthouse before. Where what lighthouse? And I say like Indiana or something like that. The church's name is for Jim. Jim Jones is this church that he attended as a young boy is known as the Lighthouse Church because there's a big statue of a lighthouse out front of it, or used to be. So it was known as the Lighthouse Church, and so it's a lighthouse, right? Um, and then it asks, "Do you want to play a game?" And so whatever this thing is, every time Chris and I did an SD session for a good 8 to 9 months, if not longer, inevitably every time would go back to the same thing. It would go back to referencing the lighthouse, come back. Do you want to play a game? These sorts of things over and over and over again. At that same time, we started having activity in our houses. Chris was seeing apparitions in his house. I was hearing lots of things in mine, and having tons of experiences. And this was not something that we wanted by any stretch of the imagination. It got so bad at one point that we were like, we maybe just be done. We might be done with paranormal and walk away. And it wasn't until Brittany Bickett, who was also there at the investigation, filming with us, and then she went to the church with us afterwards. She had an opportunity to go back, and when she did, she collaborated with Chris and I so that we could all FaceTime, and we just were like, you this is it. We're parting ways. This is your place. This is as close as we're gonna get to this building. Um, and it finally stopped. Now, when we talk about it in excess, stuff like that, it usually picks back up again. And we talk about like places that we want to return to, right? I have just an absolute innate desire to go back to that building. Every logical sense in me says that is an absolutely bad idea. But everything else is like, let's go, we can go anytime you want, because like it almost scratches an itch. Why? What happened? Like other people have been to this building after me, um, and they haven't had the breadth of interaction that Chris and I had, and the rest of the group there that night had at all. Road trip. Thanks, Chad.
Yes. Yes. I want to go now.
Well, they're every episode that because we cover different topics all around, and some are very much a road trip, and some are more of a plane trip. But somebody inevitably calls road trip. So at the 2 hour and eight
I want to
minute
go.
mark, I'll give Chad Thomas credit. Thanks, Chad.
So that is two examples. One of warm and fuzzy, and one of a much less unwarm and unfuzzy. Still want to return, but no, it's a bad idea.
I want to go.
Well, it's amazing to me. I think everybody has that place, especially if you've been at it for a while.
Yeah.
Like there's some place that is just hooks you, and
Hmm.
hopefully, well, it could be for a lot of reasons. Hopefully it's nothing overly negative, but every time we go out to the field, we run the risk of having that attraction of the place happen to us. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
we if well, I think I guess I want to say it this way: we probably welcome it to a degree because we go do it, like it
Yeah.
allows it to
Yeah. I mean,
happen,
that's the intent, right?
right?
So
To have a connection, and
why
that's really
wouldn't that? You know.
that makes sense to me at least. So it's always a curious question, to ask others, "What's your place?" So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got Kirsten to ride shotgun for next trip.
Yeah. Listen, it's paranormal and also it has true crime to it, my other favorite thing. So,
Done and done.
It is a mix, and it is a creepy church, man. I mean,
ah,
it's
gotta love a creepy church.
it's not even that it's not even dilapidated. It's like he's done a really well job of revitalizing it. It's just the history is just ugh. It's and knowing that history and then walking into an absolutely silent sanctuary is so drastic. It's so different. It's very odd. especially knowing the end of that journey,
Yeah. Yeah.
and getting to see where it started.
Hmm.
Yeah. For those who don't know, that's a shocking Google moment waiting for you out there. So,
Yeah.
ugh. All right. Well, Steve, I hate to do it, but we probably should put a pretty bow on this one. So I
Yeah.
will ask you the what we do for everybody who's a guest is that you have a couple minutes for a shameless plug of all kinds of things that you want to talk about, upcoming stuff. I have one thing I'd love for you to talk about, and that's the Hanover Tavern Paracon. Um,
Yeah.
but anything
So
else that's coming up for you, the team, anything else you want to invest in here, let us know it.
yeah. So if you want to find me, Steve Dills, it's literally like up over there. And I, just come and say hi. Um, I am also, you can find me on Transcend Paranormal. The Ghost Finders, which airs on Paraflix. It also airs on the Spirit Channel, which is free on Roku devices or spiritchannel.tv. Um, and I think some of the episodes are still on Amazon Prime, so you might be able to catch some there. Eerie Encounters on YouTube. Again, all of those are all also on all of the social media. So just look for, you know, any of those. You'll find me somewhere. I promise. Um, my upcoming anxiety nightmare. No, I'm promise it's gonna be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Is the Hanover Tavern Paracon. Um, that is January 30th and 31st. It's here in Hanover County, Virginia, so just north of Richmond. And we're gonna have a 2-day Paracon. It's our first year for 2 days. It's gonna be Friday and Saturday. We have speakers both days. It's $15 for a ticket, and that ticket is good for Friday and Saturday. We will have a VIP event on Friday evening, which is going to include a gallery reading from Patty Negri and Rob Thompson. And then it will also include some story sharing and storytelling from Haunts of Richmond, which is some of my local friends here that run their ghost tour company here in Richmond. And they do a phenomenal job. It's going to be all very related to the history of the tavern. And then we're also going to be doing a digital seance with Ron Iacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez. And that's all on Friday evening. And then Saturday, we're going to have a whole big list of folks talking and hanging out and chatting. We're going to have vendors. And then that evening, we're going to be investigating, and you'll get to investigate the Hanover Tavern, where the conference is, as well as the Old Stone Jail. The Old Stone Jail, which dates back to I believe it's 1865. The historic courthouse, which is the third oldest continuously operating courthouse in America. It is also the building and the courthouse that Patrick Henry argued Parsons' cause. Anybody remember back to fourth grade?
No, that's a long time
Taxation,
ago.
taxation without representation. And it was a waterfall effect that was a very early spark of the American Revolution. So you'll get to investigate there in the Clerk of Courts building that is right next to it, as well as the library, which is weird because not only did it host a 911 call center in it, but it is also placed right in and on top of a burial ground. So it'll be a really fun evening Saturday night. We've got a lot of speakers, and because it's a 2-day, it is so hard for me to remember everybody. But Heidi Kemper is going to be coming and speaking. Myself and Chris are going to be talking on a topic called the ghosts we carry, which is a different approach to the paranormal. The ghosts we carry is more about the unprocessed grief and emotion and memory that we bring with us to every investigation. So I share some stories about um, one about a childhood friend that passed away, which was kind of my first touch with death on a very personal note as an adult. And I also share a story about David Taylor, whom you may have met, very big in the paranormal, and he was a very good friend of mine, and he passed away right before last year's con, and he was always a big part of it. So I share a little bit about that too. But we're gonna have some folks from MUFON come and talk about how they investigate, alien claims and UFOs and all that sort of stuff. We're also going to have somebody from BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization. And so I kind of cultured the conference around more of a um, I really want it to be something that somebody comes and learns something new, or thinks about something in a different manner, or looks at something in a different light. I want you to walk away considering something else, something more. So a lot of our speakers are folks that have something important that they want to share. Um, and it's not about like, look at my book, buy my book, watch my TV show. It's there's something tangible that they want to hand over to you. um and I'm not saying that that's bad by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I agree.
um I just, I want something where somebody can walk in and say, I didn't think about that way. That's interesting. And so we're really going to try to cultivate that. We're going to have the Connor sisters talk about their journey into mediumship, and they're both Appalachian, witches, and so they talk about that transition, especially growing up in a very Catholic household. Um, Adam Glider is going to be coming, or Adam Bonnet, also known as Glider. He is handicapped from the waist down, so he has a very different and a very sometimes difficult approach to the paranormal, especially a lot of the buildings that we've investigated, and I'm sure you guys have run into them too, where there's no power, which means no elevator, and there's it's very difficult to explore some of these locations. So he shares kind of his different views of how that operates. Paul Hope is another good friend of mine, and he is a retired officer of the law, and so he's going to kind of share his approach to the paranormal in that aspect. I mean, it's going to be fun. We're going to have so many people. Vince Kellyan is going to be talking about his new presentation, Abandonment Issues, which talks about preserving historic locations, which is a huge thing for me. And I mean, it's just going to be such a really. I'm really hoping that folks are going to find something all across the board. We try to present on every different flavor: metaphysical, science, historical, however you want to approach it, skeptical. We've had Kenny Biddle come. It's just, I don't know. I want there to be something for everybody, so you have something that you can pick up and walk away with. Tickets are on sale right now, and you can find more information Hanover Tavern Paracon. You can find that on the Transcend website, transcendparanormal.com, or just search on Facebook, Hanover Tavern Paracon. Um, and Yeah, come and join us. It's always fun. It's not a massive event, but it is a good time. We like to have fun, and we have a full kitchen and or a full restaurant and bar there. So there is like food on site, and there is a full bar on site. So you get to have like actual meals, which is cool. And unbiasedly, the food is good. I think you're muted, Jamie.
So I got a kid running around in the room next to me, like,
No, you're
why are
good.
you awake at this point? Um, but Chad
Because
was
it's
down
Thanksgiving
last year, I
break.
believe, and gave the rave review of
He
the
was.
restaurant. So
Yep.
that's
Yep.
all I need. Like, hey, good food. Okay, cool. I'll be there. Yep, there it is.
There it
The food
is.
is amazing. Thanks, Chad. Why are you still up? Goodness.
And we like I don't drink anymore, but we do bring in like craft breweries, local craft breweries,
Ooh.
as well as local wineries. So we try to, the building, the tavern dates back to 1791. And that is just that the current tavern, the original tavern dates back to 1733. And it has been a tavern for its entire life. So we're
Yeah.
trying to keep it just like that, a place that you can come and, we don't allow like overnight staying. There's no rooms to rent or anything, but it's still a tavern in the sense that you can get food, you can get good drinks. There's a theater, you can have good entertainment. So we're gonna do all of it.
Well, tavern is community, right? That's
Yep.
the place where people go. And you mentioned earlier about talking about history, in the history sense, like the politics of the day. It's like an Irish public house. That's where
Yep.
everybody came in. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. You'll get all commiserate. There
Yeah.
was, the beverage never hurts. That, I
Hmm.
guess, part of it. But the sense that this is where everybody comes. The news of the day is presented and shared and told and retold, and
Yeah.
there's an energy there. We say
Yeah,
this
it
like
was
every
it
week:
was
where there's energy, there's passion; there's energy, and where there's energy, there's activity. So
Yep.
you mix all that together, and plus, a lot of folks who are interested in the field. I think it's going to be a great time.
Yep. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time. We got some really awesome speakers lined up. So, and I think
This
they
is
all have a
another
lot.
year where I say I'm going to make it. So
You
I have
should.
yet
It'll be
to.
fun.
So, but I have good intentions.
It will be fun.
Very cool. All right. Any last thoughts?
Mhm.
I
Nope.
am. I have thought a lot of thoughts.
You've thought a lot. You've said a lot of thoughts too.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Steve, what's really funny? It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes, and this is not your longest episode yet. So,
Nope, it's not. We gotta cut it. We gotta.
go figure. And Kirsten, I'm so proud of you for not falling asleep. I really am.
You did it.
I did it.
You did it. I don't know.
Thing.
I just ramble and we talk a lot, and we have. I enjoy the deeper conversation than like the what's your favorite location. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that is like the such a stereotype. I mean, like we are haunting ourselves, right?
Yeah.
You get on, you get on some of these podcasts. It's the same thing. What's your favorite location?
Yeah. We do.
Like
There is a circle of questions that are fairly standard. I agree. Um,
I don't mind them as like a launching point into a deeper question.
oh yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
there is value in it, but I enjoy the deeper. Let's get into the weeds. I enjoy that more.
I learned a long time ago that questions are asked for what? A thing, a knowledge. The what is knowledge. But what really interests me is the why. There's a reason for your
Yeah.
answer. Why is that? And that's where the personal connection comes in, the touch of it comes. And when we are engaging with each other, we learn more when we ask why questions than
Mhm.
what.
Oh
And
yeah.
why would it be any different to spirits? Because again, we're talking to people.
Mhm.
So I think there's a place for that. So I really appreciate your diving into these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, it's
Thank you
fun.
so very much. It's always a
Thanks.
pleasure, and looking
Thanks for
forward to the
diving
next one.
with me.
Of course. Dude, we can do this every week if you want to. I'm good.
Oh God.
Well, maybe not for 2.5. Maybe. All right. I have to find a common ground there.
Dead
And
tired.
this basically means Chad can go away whenever he wants to. And
Right?
eventually I'll make it work and get the right button pressed, and we'll
Just
go.
forever at Disney.
Yeah. If
Just
only.
just
I,
found a
I do.
small little place underneath a ride somewhere that he can sleep.
I'm sure that it's happened before.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I've seen like videos of people who have done that
oh,
sort of stuff. It's wild.
I don't know. I could probably do Dole Whip every day, I guess.
Oh, yes.
It's good. I do like a good Dole
Shouldn't, but I could.
Right?
Whip.
All
Still
right.
will. Still will.
Let us handle a little bit of business on the outro. If you'll hold tight for a minute, we'll
Sure.
come back around, and I'll be right back. All right. So let's change that to this. All right. Kirsten, was it everything we touted?
Thought it was pretty good.
Uh, it's so much fun. Always so much fun. All right. So let's talk about what's coming up. And then we'll be quick just to move along. But next week, we're going to have the digital seance experience with Ron Iacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez joining us. They have been on several times in the past, and Steve set them up nicely, actually, being at the Hanover Tavern Paracon as well. But they have some updates and some new stuff going on, and we just haven't talked in a little while. So last time we think we saw them was in Gettysburg at the Battlefield Bash. But they haven't been on the program, I think, since the spring. So I think we did the Queen Mary episode. Maybe it was late winter even. So it's been a minute. So it is time to have them back. Another long night probably as well. So fair warning. Get your snacks, get your beverages, use the potty. After that, we're going to have my friend Corey Asprell come on to talk about urban legends, but it's going to be a local legends edition. We've done a
Yeah.
U.S. version. We've done an international version. So let's do a local version. And I mentioned this a couple times before, but Corey always bends my ear like, hey, do you know about this? Hey, do you know about that? He texted me something the other day. I'm like, dude, no, send me a link. So we're going to let him run and see how far he goes. So, but he's excited. I talked to him the other day about it. So more to
Good.
come there.
Good.
And then December, what's that, 16th? Looks like The Keeper's Last Steps, Hauntings of the St. Augustine Lighthouse. That is going to be Chad, and back in full swing on that one. I believe there is a side trip while at Disney over to St. Augustine, so he'll have some firsthand experience there as well. He and Alex are both there. So I'm really looking forward to that one. It's a place I'd love to get to. And Kirstin, it's your first lead episode,
It's
the
gonna be the
Yuletide
first one.
Judge. Yep, Tales of the Belsnickel. And then wrapping up the year, Caught in a Time Slip, Factor Fiction or Factor Folklore. I'm sorry. So Chad will take that one, and I think I'm after that with the Glowing Folks episode. So our last public event for the year, and actually for probably ever, is coming up on December 6th. Jott-Nyx Paranormal is stepping away from Booby's Brewery as the host team at the end of the year, and on to other things. But tickets are still available. I can't see the link at this point. I'm sorry, but last time we checked, there was still a decent amount of tickets available. So, and if you can't make it yourself, it's a great Christmas gift for someone else who's into the paranormal. So there you go. And lastly, how to find us. Obviously, you're here with us throughout this long episode. But with it, too, there are other ways to connect with Jott-Nyx Paranormal and Paranormal Lens Podcast. The obvious one is jott-nyxparanormal.com. It's JOTT-NYX paranormal.com. Or you can always email Chad and I and Kirstin at paranormallenspodcast@gmail.com. So if you have an episode suggestion or a story to share or a critique of any kind, good, bad, or ugly, we'll take it all. And we do listener submissions all the time. So feel free to drop us a cue on an opportunity and we'll run with it. Happy to do it. It's the least we can do. We love the engagement and the opportunity to present what you'd like to hear. So let us know. And all of our socials and stuff, including our team store, is available at one link tree, which is linktr.ee/paranormal lens. Again, linktr.ee/paranormal lens, or you just Google Linktree, and then you'll find us in there under their search. So stuff there to keep it going. So, and that's it. Thanks everybody for hanging with us tonight. Steve Dills is as advertised as always. The man, the myth, the legend. Just a fun guy and one of my favorite people to talk to. So I'm ever grateful when we can get him, and looking forward to the next time. Kirsten, any parting thoughts?
I got none.
This is like a Barry Gibb talk show moment, right? No, I don't.
No.
All right, y'all. Chad will be back next week, and this will run a lot smoother. Thanks for hanging with us this whole way through. And again, thanks to Steve, and looking forward to seeing Ron and Lourdes next week. Everybody have a wonderful week. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Take care. We'll see you soon.